Hello, fellow Sudokans, and welcome to Zen and the Art of the Guardian Sudoku puzzle for Sunday, the 28th of March 2021. Of course, today is the Observer, not the Guardian, so we'll be attempting the Observer Sudoku puzzle, and they don't rate it, so I have no idea what level this will be. In the news, I have to mention the dreadful events in Myanmar yesterday, where at least 114 people were killed by soldiers. And Antony Blinken, the US Secretary of State, is making loud noises, but I'm not sure how much exactly people will get involved, in the international community will get involved. And even when they do, exactly how effective it will be. The military rulers in Myanmar have many years of experience. It's a recent democracy, right? It's only recently experimented with democracy, but before that, for decades, the rulers were sanctioned and, not allowed business contacts in various places, many countries across the world, and were really pariahs. But they didn't care. I mean, they really did not care at all. They just simply didn't care. And if those same people are in control now, maybe they've gone back to a completely, uncaring mode. It was hoped, I think, that by introducing democracy, it might tempt them into other ways of thinking, but it seems not to have worked. Sad events there in neighboring Myanmar. Okay, on to our Observer Sudoku puzzle for today. Like I said, I have no idea what kind of level this is. Easy, medium, hard, whatever, I have no idea. So let's just give a rundown of the rules in case it turns out to be one that beginners attempt. So you can see in this grid we have columns, and each column contains 9 squares. You have to put digits 1 to 9 in each of these squares. That means, of course, they can only go in one time. So when we have a 4 in this column, it can't appear again in this column. We have rows, 9 of them, and again 9 squares in each row, and meaning each number can appear once only. So we have an 8 here, and 8 cannot appear again in this row. And then we have these segments or boxes or blocks or whatever you want to call them, and within each there are 9 squares, 3 by 3 block, and so that means numbers 1 to 9 must also appear in here once. And that's how the game, that's the rule of the game, or rules of the game. I'm not sure if it's singular or plural, really, a kind of rule of 9 that exists everywhere. And how do we find these numbers? Excuse me. Generally, we use a process of elimination. So, for example, in this central box here, we can see this 5 here, as I said, cannot exist again in this row. Excuse me. This 5 cannot exist in this row, and this 5 cannot exist again in this column. And guess what? There's only 1 square left. So we can put in our 5 in that position there. So that's, doing similar things to that. Not just that one technique, but that one particular technique is going to solve most of the puzzle, we hope. And then there may be other things that we need to do later, depending on the difficulty level of the puzzle. So if you're a beginner, welcome. If, on the other hand, this turns out to be an expert level puzzle, maybe I've just explained to you and you're thinking, get on with it. Whichever, anyway. Right, actually, I'm not seeing huge amounts of easy stuff. Not really, not. Normally there's a lot of things that you see very quickly in the Observer puzzle, but I'm seeing possibilities, but I'm not seeing any really easy numbers. Here's one though. There's this 9 in this column, 9 in this column, 9 in this row, and 9 in this row. So if we take a kind of blocking, if you use your eyes to kind of block, look along the rows and imagine them blocked. So like if we think blocked here, blocked here, blocked here, and blocked here, it just leaves one space where we can fit a 9. not a great deal of you know, stuff that's, hey, look at me. And that is unusual for this kind of puzzle, newspaper puzzle, really. Okay, now that we've filled in this 9, that leaves rather fewer squares in this column. So fortunately, if we look at the 4 blocking here, and this 4 blocking here, and this 4 blocking across here, we now see that in this segment here, that's the only space left where we can fit a 4. Interesting. Well, you know, I'm not getting worried or anything that I won't be able to solve the puzzle. It's far too early to be concerned whether or not I will be able to finish it. But as I mentioned, I'm not seeing anything that's, you know, lots of easy stuff that we often see in these kind of puzzles. The numbers are fairly well distributed, and I think I'm going to have to start putting in some candidate pairs just to help out here. Now this is much earlier than I expected. I've only got 3 numbers. Normally I would expect to put 5 or 6 at least before we start moving on to that next step. But I think in this case I'm going to need to. Alright, so I'm going to put in some candidate pairs. Excuse me. And what do we mean by this? Well, if you're a beginner, it means that we have a kind of notation form whereby we decide where numbers can possibly go, but they haven't been absolutely fixed just yet. For example, there's a 4 in this column, meaning that a 4 could appear in this square or this square. So we'll put it in as a small number like this. We sometimes call them candidates or pencil marks, that kind of thing. And we also see that there is a 7 in this same column, and so therefore a 7 could also appear in those 2 squares. Now that will help us because we've got 2 squares with 2 numbers, and we only have 2 squares left. Now when we have 2 squares and 2 numbers, that means they cannot appear in any other squares, and it also means no other number can appear in these 2 squares. So if we count through this box here, we can see what the 2 missing numbers are. So we have a 1, we don't yet have a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 we don't have an 8. So the missing numbers here are 2 and 8 in here. Now we have an intersecting 2 here, right? There's 2 blocks there from being a 2 here, and so the 2 must appear here and the 8 must appear here, and that will help us. So fortunately for us, we looked at that 4 and 7 pair because that will help us here find another number. Now we know we have 8 across here and 8 across this row and this 8 down this column, leaving just that 1 square there where we can fit an 8. Okay, let's continue on. Okay, so good to look around, you know, have to look around the whole grid. So although that got me somewhere, I think I'm still going to need to fill in more candidates because that didn't give me anything absolute, so further than what I've already done. So let's see, there's a 3 across this row here and a 3 across this row here. So blocking along here and blocking along here just leaves those 2 places there where a 3 can go. Why do I feel like I should be seeing something really... okay, continue. So 7 in this column means that 7 can appear here or here, like so. And this 9 in, oh no, sorry, we have a 9 here already. 9 in this column and 9 in this column, and 9 blocking along here means 9 is a pair in these 2 spaces. 9 blocks this column, and this column here is blocked by this 9. Okay, so here and here, so 2 possible places where we can fit 9 here. The 5 in this column and 5 in this column gives us a pair of 5s up there. The 2 across this row and this 2 across this row gives us these 2 spots to fill in candidate 2. And so this 2 blocks this square. So I've noticed something here. 2 has to be a pair in these 2 places here. Why? Because this 2 blocks this square here, and this 2 blocks this square here, and we don't have a 2 in this column yet, so it would have to appear either there or there. And that's going to give us a number actually, because we now know this 2 down here and this 2 down here gives us a pair in this space and this space. So look, it means that there is no 2. We know in this segment 2 has to go either here or here. It can't come here or here. In this segment 2 has to come here or here. It can't come anywhere else. In fact, no other numbers can come anywhere else here. But the good thing is that we know that this square doesn't have 2 and this square doesn't have 2. So when we come across to the last block here, the 2 will have to appear in this middle row, won't it? But look, we have an intersecting 2 down here and another intersecting 2 down here. So there's only one final place left to fill in a 2. It goes there. Now this 9 and 2 pair is very useful. So now that we found 9 and 2 in the same in 2 squares, we know that all of the other numbers have to fit here. So when we see this 6 coming down here, we don't yet have a 6 in this segment, but we see a 6 coming down here. We know it's got to go here because it blocks this whole row, and it can't come in either of these 2 squares. So that's our 6. And we can also fill in the last number up here, which is 3. If you count through 1, 2, that's a 3. Okay, so we've got a little bit of progress there. Now what were the other numbers here? Can we get any of them? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so, well, the other thing is that, so we know that a 4 has got to appear in here somewhere, hasn't it? Right? Because we know this is 9 and 2 only, so we don't have a 4 yet in this segment, so it's got to come here or in one of these 3 squares here, which means that it will block this 4 here from being true. So this must be 4 and this must be 7. Okay. That will let us put in a pair of 7s up here. So this 7 extends up this column and the 7 blocks this row. So we'll put in 7 as a pair in those 2 squares there. But also we can remove candidate 7 here that we had in this square here, right? And that will appear in that square there now. Okay, which means that we can now look for this number, right? Because there are only two numbers left, and they're in the same row, in the same segment actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't yet have a 6, do we? But this 6 blocks this square, so the 6 has to be here, and the 3 has to be here. Okay, looking good so far. We can put in our candidate 2's now, so this 2 blocks along here, so 2 and 2 go there. And 7, this 7 blocks this square here, so that's going to be 7. And so we've got two numbers, and there is only one square left. So we can fill it in immediately. It has to be a 1. We don't yet have a 1, so we'll fill that in. When we do that, this 1 brings across and blocks the rest of this row, leaving just that space there for a 1. We have two numbers left here. We can put them in as candidates, or we can just leave them. Let's write them in, give some practice. It's 4 and 6. So we'll put 4 and 6 in like so. Might help us out to speed things up later on. Right, okay, I think we're doing quite well now. So let's see, 4, 6, 3. Okay, so we have in this column here, right? I notice lots of intersecting 3's. Look, this 3, we don't have a 3 in this first column here. This 3 blocks this square. This 3 blocks this square. This 3 blocks this square. There's only one left, so a 3 has to appear there. Now that we know that, we bring this 3 across this row, looking at this segment here, blocking here. This 3 across this row, blocking this top row here, and so 3 has to appear there. Okay, let's keep the ball rolling. The numbers missing here are 4 and 8, but this 4 blocks this square here, so the 4 must appear there and the 8 must appear there. Let's find the missing number here. It's a 1. We don't yet have a 1 in this column, so we'll write in candidate 1 to help us find the number later, remind ourselves. And the missing numbers here, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't yet have a 6. That's got to come here. 7 and 8. Okay, 8 is actually a pair, so we'll fill in the 8 like that. The 6 is, we don't know yet. We'll just, okay, I'll fill it in. I'll just put in 6. But I won't put it in the top left of the square, because that's where I keep my pairs. That's reserved for pairs only. Sounds prejudicial in some way against singles, but never mind. Well, I can see a 7 pair down here, so 7 down here, 7 down here, and this 7 blocks across here. So these two squares, one of them must contain a 7. And this 4 across this row, 4 across this row. We don't have any intersecting 4's just yet, but we know that 4 has to go in either that square or that square. And along here, the top, 4 across this row, 4 across this row, leaving us with 4 in those possible locations. The 3 in this column, 3 in this column, gives us 2 places to put candidate 3. Okay, so I've seen what I think is probably going to finish the puzzle now. So you might be thinking, huh, what? And I'm guessing, but I have a feeling we've probably done a lot just by spotting one thing. So I've seen that this 8 is in this row. okay, blocking here. And so 8 is down here like so. Oh, actually it's not going to solve the puzzle for me. I thought it was, but okay. So 8 blocks along here and 8 is down here. So 8 is going to be in either this square or this square. Up here, this 8 is going to block this column, 8 blocks this column, 8 blocks this row. So 8 is going to be in either that square or that square. Why did I think I saw it? Oh yeah, of course. Right, so 8 down here blocks this row, 8 blocks this row. So there is only one place left for an 8 here. So 8 goes there. That 8 can't exist now, so 8 goes here, like that. Okay, where are we now? 1, 3. Let's put in a pair of 3s here. So 3 in this column, 3 in this column, and we have a 3 across the top row. So 3 can exist in those 2 spots. 6 across this row, 6 across this row, giving us 2 spaces for a 6. I thought I was going to, I thought I'd seen something before that was going to finish the puzzle for me, but I was wrong, clearly. 5 down in this column puts us enables us to put 5 in those places there. Okay, something I should have seen before, I think. Right, no, I'm talking to myself again. Please ignore. Please ignore while I chat to myself. Okay, 1 across here and 1 down here. I'm sure you've been at home watching this, pointing out that for ages and ages. But when you are making these videos, often you just don't see things. I have no idea what happens when you turn the camera on. I'm overwriting a 2 here, so that's clearly a 2. We had our 9-2 pair here now, so that's a 2. And that's our 9. We had 9. Why did we have 9 here? Something's odd. 9. Oh, 9 here. Sorry. Okay, there it is. I couldn't find its partner to indicate it was part of a pair. I just wasn't noticing it. There, found it now. Right. So, what's left to do? Okay. What's the missing number here? It's a 7, isn't it? Okay, so that's a 7, that's a 7. There's a 7 here. That's the last number there. Has to be a 7, of course. And now that we've got that, we had either a 7 or a 6 here. That has to be a 6. Now we've got a 6. That has to be an 8. And that has to be a 7, like so. Okay, that's good. Now the 6 in this column and 6 here means that 6 must be a pair here and here. Now because I'm writing pairs in the top left, it enables me to see something. I've got a pair, 8 and 6 and 8 and 6 in 2 squares, but I've also got another number from another pair, but this now can't exist because as soon as you get 2 numbers exclusively to each other like this, the third number can't exist. So we can remove candidate 2 from that, but because it's part of a pair, we can fill it in. And now we're overwriting a 3, so we can put in 3. We had a pair of 3s here. That can't exist, so that's our 3. Missing numbers in this row are 1 and 5. We have an intersecting 1 here, so the 1 has to appear here like this. That has to be our 5. There's only one number missing here now because we have 8 and 6 already. The missing number is 1, so we fill that in. 5 or 1? that's a 5, that's our 1. We know this is 8 or 6. We have an intersecting 8 already, so that's got to be a 6. That's our 8. The last missing number in this row is 5. And the last number up here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a 6, isn't it? Do we have any intersecting 6s? No, we don't. Even at this stage, we still don't have one. So let's put in a 6 up here. So I'm going to give this puzzle a medium, I think. Even though we haven't finished, oh well, maybe something terrible will happen and I shall just realise I've made a big fool of myself, but I don't think so. We've just about finished now. 2 down here means that's our 2, and that's our 7, 7, or 5, that has to be a 5, that's our 7, 7 pair over here, that's 7, 6, 1 number missing, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's a 5, we don't have a 5 yet, so we can fill that in. The last missing number here is a 1, but look, we have a 1 blocking down here, so that's our 1, that's our 4, 4 or 6, that's a 6, that's a 4, 4 or 6, that's the 4, that's the 6. I'm going to give it a medium puzzle, I think, because it was a slow start. I mean, it was quite tricky to get in there, so I think it's above the easy level. Hard level, don't think it gets quite that difficult, but opinions vary, right? It's definitely not an expert level puzzle, but let's say somewhere around the medium level. Thank you for joining. Please remember to subscribe to the channel. You'll help me and you'll help promote the cause of Sudoku. And also The Guardian, I'm not affiliated with The Guardian, but it is a good newspaper. They provide some excellent reporting, and I would suggest either subscribing to The Guardian regularly, or in fact they have an option where you can donate rather than pay for the regular newspaper subscription. And so for people with much less money, a simple donation, even if it's just once, will help them out a little bit. Okay, thank you. Hope to see you tomorrow for The Guardian Sudoku. And well, guess what? Another week is beginning tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.